Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Scott Planting, and I've been asked to be the host for this season's adult formation classes. It's a pleasure to be here. Let us begin with a prayer. Let us pray. Loving God, you declare your power in showing mercy and pity. Grant us the fullness of your grace that we, running to obtain your promises, may become partners of your way of compassion and care. We pray in the Lord's name. Amen.
Amen.
As you all know, the theme of this year's adult formation class is Trailblazers. So we honor those who have blazed trails of faith before us. Larry Hayward has a sermon this morning, about Rachel, who weeps for her children. An incredible example of one who has blazed faith before us. And we begin today with the title of our presentation, The Incredible Life and Legacy of Harriet Tubman. She wrote, and I looked this up, so probably you're going to say this too, but it's a great, great line. Harriet Tubman said, "Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars and to change the world." Ranger Chaney Dale is going to tell us this story of a dreamer who has changed our world. Reverend Ranger Dale is the acting park manager of the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad State Park in Church Creek, Maryland. He's from Snow Hill, Maryland, which is, you said, at the lower end of the
just south of Ocean City.
Eastern Shore.
So yeah, everybody knows where Ocean City is.
Yeah. And in your bio, you said in 2016 you had the honor of opening the Harriet Tubman State Park. And since then I've been serving as the acting park manager. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, thank you for having me. So how's everybody doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
All right. So what my plan is today is to talk to you about Harriet Tubman and kind of take you on a virtual tour of our visitor center. Of course, you're still not going to be able to see everything in our visitor center, but we hope that this is going to be a little bit of a taste to make you want to come visit us. So what I'm going to do first is hand out some of our brochures that we have from the park. So you all can kind of go along with me, and it should be about 25 there or so. For this table, 2 more that can be passed around somewhere. That's one of those tables. And now I've got plenty more for everybody. All right, so I guess we'll start out. Who has anybody in here been to our visitor center yet? All right, perfect. Have you heard about it at least? What's that? From here, get on 50 and head. I don't even know which way I am right now. I don't know if it's north or east. All right, yep. So 50 east to get there. All right, so what I'm gonna start off is kind of giving you our ranger-led introduction that we usually do when groups come out to our visitor center. We go in depth on one, why we are in the location that we are in, and then I will go into what you will learn when you visit our state park and visitor center. All right, so here's another picture of our visitor center. That is a life-size bust of Harriet Tubman, and we'll go into that in more in depth in a little bit as well. So the biggest question, so this is an aerial shot of the park. So the biggest question is that we usually get from guests when they visit is, why are we here? If you don't know where we are, we're in an area that I like to call the boonies. So middle of nowhere. It's about 25 minutes off of Route 50 actually. So people always wonder why we're not in DC or just located closer to Route 50 or even like the Baltimore area or something. The reason that we are in the location that we are in is because we're in what we like to call Tubman country. We are 7 miles from the plantation she was enslaved on, which is the Brodus Farm. And then we're about 5 miles from where she was actually born in a place called Peter's Neck, now known as Madison. So how we became was in about 2013 when it was a little earlier than that, when President Obama declared the place a National Historical Monument. And it was a process that was in the works before that, but it was just moving along very slowly. So the state of Maryland's Maryland Park Service and the National Park Service went joint in to this to make it a partnership park. So we are a Maryland state park and a National Historical Monument. So if anybody visits their national parks here, yes, you can get a stamp. So that's how it came to be. So I think groundbreaking started in 2013. So it opened on March 10th of 2017. March 10th is significant because that is Tubman Day. So that is the day that she passed. So we honor her on her death date since we don't actually know the date she was born. You know, it was in 1822 around the winter time, but we don't know the official date, and we'll go into that a little bit more later as well. So our focus at our visitor center is we focus on Harriet Tubman's early years in the Choptank River region. She was born in Araminta Ross in 1822. We focus on her time there. We focus on the landscape, of course, her faith, family, community, and freedom, and of course, Underground Railroad resistance movement. And her influence and legacy, we touch on that just a tad on one of our last panels in our exhibits, but we kind of leave that story to the national site that'll be opening up in Auburn, New York. I think it's open some, but not fully yet. Still got to make a trip up there as well. So one of our design concepts is the view north. Can anybody think of why we focus on the view north so much? Of course. So you can see that everybody's looking at this one. Not showing on screen. All right, well, you can see how the cone, how everything is lighter in here. You see how everything is opening up. We focus on that concept all throughout our visitor center and our park as well, because we focus on the moving north, because the north, of course, was freedom. So that concept goes on from when you first pretty much get out of your vehicle and begin on the sidewalk path leading to the visitor center, and it just starts to open up more and more. And that concept it continues on through our exhibit space as well. And I will definitely continue harping on that during this presentation. So here is a slight view of our landscape. You can see as the grass is very tall. We get a lot of comments on it. You know, why don't you cut the grass? You know, why it's like that? Do you own a mower? Yes, we own several mowers and a tractor as well. The grass is like that. Those are meadow grasses that were planted to show how the landscape was when Miss Harriet Tubman was in the area as well. So that's another reason that we are located out there. There will not be any commercial buildup out there in that area because we are surrounded by Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge. So when we wanted to design and build the facility, we had a 17-acre plot elsewhere, and we did a land swap with Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge. So that land has been preserved and not changed much since Tubman's time. So we like to think that if she was brought back here in this day, she would be able to navigate her way through there, because not much has changed besides, some of the homes and of course the paved roads, but everything else will stay the same as to how it was in the 1800s, pretty much. So, some more things that I like to focus on because we are a state park. We do like to focus on our green features as well. So as you can see, our light poles in the parking lot, they have solar panels on them. And you can see on our roof, that is another big attraction that we have from folks because they see grass growing on the roof. And then the comments there are, state workers are so lazy, they got grass growing on the roof. That is intended to be there like that because it is a living roof. So what that does is it helps to insulate our buildings as well. So it helps with the cooling and the heating, as well as it creates a habitat for wildlife. And as, I don't know if you can see it too well in this one, but that is a killdeer nest. So they like to build their nest on like rough, rocky areas and all, and we're glad that they finally found the roof because they always like to just do it in our parking lots, and then we have to put a cone and it's just in the way. So we're glad that they finally found the roof to put their nest on. One other thing that we have is, I don't know if I have it on the next slide or not. Okay, yeah. So you can see this pond right here. We keep the grass growing up around there, but that is a bermed in filtration pond. So yes, when we flush the toilets in our facilities, everything goes through a pipe and leads out to our maintenance area right here. Everything is filtered. It goes to a pipe out there. And we've been told that when it gets to the pond, that is drinkable water. None of us have tried it. It is good for a wildlife, as we've seen wood ducks, you have bufflehead ducks. And of course, it is not an open pond to other bodies of water, but we do have fish in there. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with the snakehead fish.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, so they are in there. But yes, it is good for wildlife though. So that's the most important part about that. And so now we're going to go back into our visitor center as well. So you see this building, that is the main building that everybody sees. So the outside of that is lined with red cedar. And that red cedar is part of some of the hidden symbolism that we have in our park. The red cedar is an ode to Tubman's time working in the timber fields with her father, Ben Ross. And then you can see that there are 3 other buildings. And it looks 4 separate buildings, but when you get there, you will see that it is all one large building. But the 3 buildings are symbolisms of how things could go for an enslaved person in slavery. You could stay enslaved, be sold further down south, or of course, be like Miss Tubman and self-liberate yourself. And these buildings, these 3 are lined with a self-healing zinc patina. It's German made, but what that symbolizes is how the Black community has had to heal themselves over slavery in the country, because that building, if it gets a scratch on it, it will heal itself over time. Now, it doesn't go back to the original way, but it will dull and kind of rust over in a sense, but the rest of it will start to go that way as well. So we tell people that, and then we ask them, please don't scratch the building. So, and then we'll be going on more symbolism throughout. So this is, remember I told you we were going to talk about the bust of Harriet Tubman. This is a life-size bust that we have of Harriet Tubman done by an artist out of Easton, Maryland. That is her actual height. Does anybody know how tall she was?
Little.
She was 5 feet even. So what we have is some hidden symbolism in this as well. I didn't get pictures of the backside. It's kind of hard to get back through there, but at the bottom of the base on the backside are broken chains to show the breaking of bondage of slavery.
How did she do that?
What's that?
How did she do that?
Do what?
Break the bonds of slavery.
Oh, self-liberation. Yeah, and leading others to freedom. So we spoke on the view north as well. So can anybody guess what way she is facing? Yeah, so it is supposed to be north. It's actually more northeast kind of. We had to have it reset and it was twisted a little bit more, but it is the view north still. And when you visit the facility, you'll be able to see more up here is the knot from where she suffered her head injury from the Bucktown Village store. Also, they felt it was good to pull her gown down in the back some, and it shows the scarring and welts from the beatings that she suffered. So when you visit, you'll actually be able to see those and feel those as well. Also, the base, which is most of the height, that is a piece of red cedar, another ode to her time in the timber fields with her father, Ben Ross. But then, is anybody familiar with Maryland history? So this tree cookie right here is a piece of the white oak. The white oak was one of the largest white oak trees in the country before its demise, before it fell in about 2002. So it was actually part of the Maryland Park Service. So we had the lumber, and so a lot of stuff was made out of that, like judges' gavels, the governor's desk is made out of it. Also, this pen that I have is made out of the white oak as well. So with that, that is something that was around during her time when she would have been here. So the white oak is the state tree of Maryland. So they felt it was right to have the daughter of Maryland sitting on a piece of Maryland history. All right. So now is the tour. So the sides of this hallway right here is honestly probably my favorite part of the visitor center at all. That is reclaimed barnwood, actually from a farmhouse on the eastern shore of Virginia, actually. A lot of work was done to preserve that, to put it in here. They did have to put a coating over it because it was splintering and all. But this is about the view north again still. So when you enter our visitor center and you go down, as you go through the visitor center, of course, everything will start to widen up and open and get more bright. Fortunately, this picture was taken on a cloudy day, so it's not going to be as bright. But when you get to the furthest north point, we always tell people to take a look back, and you'll see down the hall, everything just starts to close in and gets more narrow, showing the oppression of the Deep South. So this is the layout of our visitor center pretty much. Start with the landscape temporary exhibit space, and then we just go through not just her life, but some of the community of the Eastern Shore as well. You touch on like the skipjacks and all who helped her during some of her escapes as well. And we end with her influences and her legacy and all. All right, so this is a piece in our temporary art exhibit. We get our art from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore's art program, also my alma mater. But just this piece right here, this is the one that we've kind of asked them to keep in there just because it is such a powerful piece with Harriet Tubman as the Statue of Liberty. Some other stuff that was done, portraits. So They use the youngest photo that they have of Harriet Tubman to do that portrait. And then even in that photo, she was around the age of like 46 or so, they think. And then some pictures from the Bucktown Village store that they took as well. And so this exhibit right here is a very, very powerful one. It is a father holding his son back as his mother is being sold on the auction block. And that was right at the Dorchester County Courthouse back in those times. So like we said, we focus on the not just Harriet Tubman, but slavery in a whole in the area as well. So this one goes on touching on the plantations almost, kind of showing the industries that were prevalent in the Dorchester County area back then, two of which are still prevalent to this day. You know, you had the oystering and fishing industry, of course, but then you also have the farming, but not too much on the timbering right now. Some trees are still coming down, but not too much right now. Some of those trees still got some growing to do. So this is a house of the it's called the Webb Cabin. James Webb, he was a freed Black man in Caroline County. This was just to show the size of the homes that enslaved folks would be in. So it's a very small home. I'm not sure if you can see in the back part a little bit is some of the floor plans and all, but you're talking in that size house, you could have a family of 10 to 15 in there all at once. Very tight, close quarters and all. And I don't think I didn't put the picture of there showing the scale to an enslaver's home and an enslaved person's home. But this is a list of Harriet Tubman's whole family tree. So you can see everybody, her father, Ben, her mother, Harriet, Rick, Mariah, Lena, Soph, Robert, of course, Miss Tubman herself, Ben Jr., Rachel, Henry, and Moses. All right, so this is a corn crib. This is Harriet Tubman, probably, I think around maybe 8 to 9 years old or so. But one of her tasks was to, care for the children in the house as well at that age. But that is a crib made out of a gum tree. Actually, that was made by some folks out of Easton, I believe, as well. But we believe that is her holding her youngest brother, or one of her younger brothers, Moses, actually, probably rocking him to sleep before she puts him into the crib. So this is a portrayal of some of the work that she did in the timbering industry. She was able to hire herself out from her enslaver to make her own money in timbering, and also I think she had to pay him about $60 a year for her to go leave the plantation and work. And then whatever she made after that 60 was her profit. Was $60 doesn't sound a lot, but back then that was a lot of money. So she was able to purchase 2 oxen to help her take the timber along the canal. And I'm blanking on the name of that right now. Stewart Canal. Yep. And so she was able to do that to help, make the process a little bit quicker, because you can imagine trying to move timber without, I can't even imagine it now without heavy equipment. I think even an ox would be too slow for me nowadays. So this is a portrayal of some other work that she did, which was muskrat trapping. I know we're in Virginia. Is anybody familiar with muskrat and all?
Yeah.
You know, it's a delicacy in the Dorchester County area. But they would use them for food as well as the fur as well. They would make garments with the fur. But you know, when muskrat season is, it's in the winter time and all. She was out here in these cold waters, no shoes or anything, getting muskrat. And I'm not sure what the climate was back then. I know it's cold now, and I know it's probably still cold then. So to be able to do that, and when you're kind of forced, but you still persevere and still continue on, it's very, very powerful. So this is another picture of the muskratting exhibit as well. So this, the Bucktown Village store. So in here we actually have a scale model of what they would use to weigh the goods out and all. And then here as well, we have these pieces showing the different weights that were used for weighing the goods. And this one right here is a 2-pound weight. And we have that so you can actually lift it up some, so you can feel the heaviness in it of what hit her in her head. And I mean, that blow definitely could have killed her. That had to be thrown with some force, because it actually did crack her skull. And even till her death, she could put like 3 fingers in there from where it was broken and all. Yeah, we have a reenactor that comes to the park and puts that in her talk, and it's the same kind of reaction that she gets.
How did that happen that she got hit in the head?
So what it was in the Bucktown Village store, and I wish I need to go and get pictures inside of the Bucktown Village store to add to my PowerPoint. I think that'll be able to put stuff in more context for people as well. But the story is there was an overseer in the Bucktown Village store with an enslaved child, and Harriet Tubman was in there just getting some goods or something, or possibly even doing combing out some wool and all, because they had that in there too. But what happened was the child made a run for it, and the overseer yelled for somebody to stop him. And Harriet said she saw freedom in that child's eyes and was not stopping him. So the overseer picks up the weight to throw it at the child, subsequently missing and hitting her in her head. She goes, knocks out cold, and they just put a wrap on her head and sent her to her mom to rest up for a little bit. And when she came back to and the bleeding was stopped, it was back out into the fields and all. So that's a big part that we can talk about, because the Bucktown Village store is still there standing. The couple who owns the property, they're very in tune with telling the story as well. They do open it up for large groups that come, so it's something to plan ahead with. And also sometimes if they see somebody, because they allow people to walk around the property, look at the windows and all. Sometimes if they have time, they'll come over there and open it and talk to you about it. So sometimes they do allow us to go and do some interpretive experiences down there as well. So it's a good partnership that we have with them.
Did the child get away or not? Or do we know?
That is all we know. So we don't know if he subsequently got away or anything. So that's the end of what we know with him though. So you hope that he did, because you can only imagine what happened if he was caught. But
Did she always live in Maryland, or when did she move to Pennsylvania?
So she went to Pennsylvania. Her first emancipation mission was in the fall of 1849. that is when she made her first trip to Philadelphia. So she
That's
saw,
when she emancipated herself, just moved out of the farm and went up north on her own.
yeah, and when she got there, she looked at her hands and couldn't believe that she was free, but she wanted her family and friends to taste what she had just tasted. So a lot of people, a lot of folks believe that she started the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was already a well-oiled machine before she got on it. The difference was most people used it, got free, never went back. She didn't want to leave her family and friends, so she made 13 trips to help free, around 70 people, and those are just hands-on missions that she was a part of, that she led. Before she, on her last mission, she got her parents out and then settled down in Auburn, New York.
Didn't she go way farther south sometimes, like Georgia?
No, no, some of that, some of the stuff that is portrayed, are myths and all. She never went further south or anything, because that would have
In
been
Maryland.
right, because that would have been a big risk to even go further south than there. So everybody that she freed was in the Dorchester County region,
How many people did she free?
It was 70.
Oh, wow.
So 70 on the Underground Railroad. But then when you get into the war and all, when she was in the Union Army, the Combahee River Raid, that was over 700 people freed, but that wasn't an Underground Railroad mission. So, and I think that is one of the areas where some confusion happens, because you see a lot of people saying, she freed 300, enslaved people, but also that was in Sarah Bradford's biography about Harriet Tubman, in which she later in life said that she made that number up because 300 just sounded a lot better than 70. So,
Is the movie Harriet an accurate portrayal?
in a sense, it is. And so we're actually next Saturday, we're actually going to be showing that movie. Our staff wanted to show it, but we do have a long fact sheet that goes on what was real and what was Hollywood. So we try to, stuff is already beefed up for Hollywood to try to make it more interesting. I don't think that's a story that needed to be falsified to make interesting or anything, but
Did she take the Underground Railroad back to Maryland all the time?
yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the Underground Railroad?
Yeah, so the Underground Railroad was never the same path each time. There wasn't a marked pathway any type of way. A lot of people like to ask about the quilt code. That wasn't a thing either. But the top thing of the Underground Railroad was moving at night. So a lot of the missions happened in the wintertime, because you had longer spans of darkness to be able to move. If dogs are on you, you get into the water and all, so they can't pick up your scent or anything. And actually, that brings to a good part. It's a book that we recommend for folks that want to know the full story of Harriet Tubman. It's called Bound for the Promised Land by Dr. Kate Clifford Larson, and she is our historical consultant, actually. So she did a whole deep dive on Tubman's life. I will say it reads like a thesis paper and all, but it is very informal though, and it has a timeline in there which helps a ton to pretty much get the story.
Is your fact sheet available about the facts and the elaborations from the
We don't post it online or anything because of the backlash that we could get from Hollywood. But what we do is we do have it available at our visitor center desk. and we do allow people to look at it there. So yeah.
What is the movie you're referring to?
The movie Harriet?
Oh, that's the Harriet movie.
Yes.
There's another movie that I saw and it was sort of, she was depicted in it, but, okay.
WHUT or PBS,
Yeah.
Rita had a very good two-part series on it. Well, back. I
Mhm.
don't know whether that's available.
And I think, is that channel a branch of PBS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think our director might have been in that as well, Angela Crenshaw. If not, they could have been showing the movie that I have on my PowerPoint as well, if we're able to get to it as well, but it is available online, Harriet Tubman, Soldier of Freedom. So that is our intro orientation film. It's about a 17-minute film and kind of goes through Harriet Tubman's life. I think that's a big thing at like national parks, is like an orientation film.
When she died.
Oh God, 1822 to 1913. So was that 91? I think.
Did she ever marry or have kids or anything?
So she did marry a man, John Tubman, but on her first mission, he was a free black man already. So on her first mission, he didn't want to risk going with her when she came back. And when she came back, he had already remarried and moved on. So later on, she married a gentleman named Nelson Davis, and they adopted a child named Gertie. So she never had any children of her own from her, but she helped raise a lot of younger generation folks as well. So, which going from the bottom of the store leads to her faith. So after she suffered that head injury, she would actually suffer from like epileptic seizures almost. It's not epilepsy. I can't think of the right term, but she would have seizures, but also she would have lapses of consciousness that affected her all throughout her life. So even later in life, when she was just being a speaker and advocate for women's rights, she would be talking and then just go right to sleep. So like narcoleptic spells almost. But she would wake back up and continue in her sentence as if nothing had ever happened. But what she attributes the head injury to is her visions and conversations that she had with God. And so that led to, that touches on her faith and all, because of course, enslaved people were very, very spiritual and all. And so this is an exhibit showing her first escape in 1849. She stood by the fence while the overseers, weren't looking or tending to something else. She sang a song that her mother knew, and it was a symbol to her mother that I'm leaving now. And then that's when she got off the plantation to make her first escape. And so this exhibit we would love to be able to add to it in the future, but this is a list from all of her trips on the Underground Railroad. So it has some names, a lot of them her family and all, but a lot of unidentified people. I don't even know where you begin to do the research to find those unidentified ones, because so many people would change their names afterwards when they would get to Philadelphia to William Still's house. They would get a new name, but he would also keep a ledger for if some of their family made it there. He would be able to tell them where they went, what they switched their name to, and also I think that would be a great research project for someone to do. But here is a fodder house. So this is what her brothers and one of his wife hid in one night before Harriet Tubman was able to lead them to freedom. And so this exhibit touches on the Combahee River raid, when she was called upon by General James Montgomery to lead because she was, I mean, a scout, spy, nurse, cook. I mean, she pretty much did everything, but she helped to lead this raid to free over 700 enslaved people and lead them to freedom. It wasn't an Underground Railroad mission, but it was still an amazing mission for an amazing cause.
He did, so she did 70 on the underground and 630 otherwise.
No, this was 700 just on this mission alone.
Oh,
So I guess if you wanted to put them together, it would be 770. But we focus on the Underground Railroad
what
missions.
she do in the Union Army?
What's that?
You said she was in the Union Army.
Mm-hmm.
What'd she do there?
Yeah, scout, cook, nurse, pretty much any role in it, she did it. And with that, she had to be under orders of James Montgomery because nobody was going to listen to a woman on this trail, but it was to lead Black folks in the Union Army. So he said to her, talk to your people. So, well, they weren't her people no more than they were his people, really. But it felt that she would be able to connect with the Black folks even more. And so that was a big role where he gets all of the credit, but you know, she did all the work, and that's what we try to shed light on that as well. So that's another vision of everybody in the water, helping people out, getting to shore and all. All right, and so this is the last area that harps on her time in when she settled into Auburn, New York, and also after that she made money from farming, brick making as well, and even her time as a suffragette for women's rights. She also had her biography written by Sarah Bradford, which was embellished a bit, but then later figured out, and then telling her story, and then of course speaking engagements that she did, and then and we have the one panel down here that we keep getting a lot of questions about, and we're trying to get that panel changed. Of course, that is Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Harriet in 2020. So we keep having to have conversations with people. The timeline right now that we got was 2030. So with that, we say, you know, 2020 was never a realistic time for it to happen anyway. It takes a lot of time to change a bill. We can say now, and we'll get to that on one of the other slides, is they are planning to release some coins with Harriet Tubman on them. I believe one is a 50-cent piece, I think. I could be wrong though. I did step out during that announcement at our park because I had to get set up for the next program. So,
Was she literate?
no, she couldn't. She never learned to read or write, but she knew how to get messages.
But she was a good speaker.
Yes. Yep.
She was good.
And so this is our last space. So that's another bronze figure of Harriet Tubman. That it's a big photo op area. People can sit next to Harriet and take pictures and all.
She was pretty small, is that right?
Yes, 5 feet tall, 5 feet even. And so this is some areas in Dorchester County, Cambridge to be exact, that are honoring Harriet Tubman now. So this memorial has a picture of not only Harriet Tubman, but Gloria Richardson as well. I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with Gloria Richardson, but she was big in the civil rights movement and all. And so, like I said, the 20 is still coming. The movie Harriet, and then this is a magnificent mural on the side of the Harriet Tubman Museum located in downtown Cambridge. That's the Take My Hand mural. Picture of Harriet Tubman reaching out, and that picture right there has gone viral with that young child reaching out to touch Harriet's hand.
How did her name get changed from Arminta?
To honor her mother.
Oh,
Yeah, it was to honor her mother. So it went from, she changed it from Araminta to Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman when she got married, but yep. So some of the recent discoveries that they've had, our archaeological team has been doing digs out on Blackwater's property, but all of these or most of these findings have come from what they believe to be her father's home site. So we've got some bricks, some pottery, some buttons and pins and all. We also have a few pieces of like tips from corncob pipes as well. And then in this case was probably the biggest things that we've ever had here. So the couple that owns the Bucktown Village store, this was the runaway ad for Harriet Tubman and her brothers. That was a significant piece to have it still in the shape that they have it in. Was just amazing. And then I think on the next slide, this one. This is the ledger that was found in a house in Cambridge just a couple years ago that they believe to be the bill of sale of Harriet Tubman. Right around the top, it says it vaguely. It's around like the February to March area. So that was a significant piece for us to have for our 200th celebration that we had at the park. That is located in the state archives. I'm not sure what they do as far as being able to view it or anything, but could definitely probably contact them. I don't know if maybe we'll have it back to put on display at some point as well, but having that on display was very shaky. Being in charge of that. Yes.
So people were born into slavery, and then the practice was they were sold to another family, often at kind of what age? Or is there-
Any age. Yeah, there was no limit on it. It was males would go for more and all because they viewed them as
They broke up
stronger.
families, didn't they?
Or just,
What's that?
what did it tend to happen at a particular time, or just sort of?
No, it would just depend. There were babies were even sold into slavery and all. But yeah, but on to that, there was this getting off topic in a bit, but being sold into slavery, you also had we had one of our seasonal rangers do an amazing presentation during Black History Month, which was the reverse Underground Railroad. And that focused on free Blacks being sold back into slavery. And that was focused on a lady named Patty Cannon. She was a very vicious woman as to where she would set up deals to sell Blacks into slavery or to buy them even. And at the meetup, she would actually kill the enslaver and then take them back and sell the enslaved folks again. So it's a lot of areas that aren't projected out yet, and I'm just honored to have staff that research and dive into that because they're from that area and just in the Hurlock type area and all. So yes.
What's the name of that book again? Is it in this article here, or is it
Oh, yeah, Bound for the Promised Land
by whom?
by Dr. Kate Clifford Larson.
What was Tubman's relationship, if any, with Frederick Douglass?
So they didn't have too big of a relationship. They did meet later on in her time and all, but it wasn't a very big significant relationship though.
Did they regard each other as in some sense rivals or allies or?
Definitely allies, never rivals or anything. It was all, everybody had the same mission and the same goals and all. So yeah, actually, I think we had a Frederick Douglass quote on Harriet Tubman. Yeah, so in our last space, the midnight sky and silent stars have been the witnesses of your devotion to freedom and your heroism. So that was Frederick Douglass, with a quote on Harriet Tubman, and also definitely respected each other. Yes.
How long a drive is it to get there from here?
From here, I think you're looking at probably around 2.5 hours or so.
For the museum to give it a good go through.
So when people come to our facility, we tell them to kind of plan out at least like 45 minutes to an hour to go through everything, to be able to view the orientation film and then going through the exhibits, because it's a lot of panels to read. And then we have more touch panels too, to be able to read on those, as well as QR codes that can be scanned to listen to other stories. What's that?
Just an hour is all you need for all that?
Well, it could be more. And that's what we tell people. It depends on how quickly you read.
No, shut up. You said you're near which seashore project, next door to it?
Oh, Blackwater National Wildlife Refuge.
Is there a road that goes through that you can take without
Yes.
walking and see the birds?
Yes, that is called the Wildlife Drive,
Wildlife Drive, and is that close to you?
right across the street.
That's
With-
Route 50, not Route 50,
That is Route 335. And actually, we have a great partnership with them as well. And sometimes we actually do use the Wildlife Drive to do birding programs.
So you could conceivably do the whole thing in a day?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's it's not like the African American Museum in DC. We are a lot smaller. Like you can do it all in a day.
Rachel, Jeff, thank you. What has this work meant for you?
It's meant a lot. I mean, and it's wild because I say a lot because I didn't really learn anything about Harriet Tubman until I got to this part. Growing up right in Snow Hill, in the Worcester County public school system, we didn't learn about Harriet Tubman too much. Most of this Black history that I learned was growing up in church and all. So
Even though she was your neighbor.
right,
Yeah.
right, yeah, and that's all we knew was she was from Cambridge. That's it. And so just being here at this facility, I've gained a more appreciation for my history and all. And so that's one thing that I'm definitely proud of and appreciative of from being there.
What do people most ask you? What are the questions that people ask when they visit you?
What time the train leaves? A lot of people ask that, and they're dead serious on that, and we tell them that it's a metaphor. That the Underground was a metaphor, and I get where they get it to because we have a picnic pavilion there, and it kind of looks like a train stop. So I can get it, but they also ask where do they go to get underground? Like, well, it wasn't an underground network. It was just moving at night and all. Although I would love to be able to work a trail system to connect the Blackwater from underground, but that's not possible there.
Well, what didn't the book, The Underground Railroad, confuse people?
Yes, and so our our gift shop that is in our visitor center is a contracted out place that partners with the National Park Service, Eastern National, and they're actually selling that book in there. So we had to ask them to pull that from the shelf. Because like we're saying one thing over here, but then they're going to get this book, and it's like, so.
Any other questions? Again, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you all for having me.